All right, welcome back to our channel. Today on Twin Flame Q&A, we are going to be rating each other's biggest wounds. Watch this video. Alright guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the little notification bell so you're notified every time we come out with a new video. My name is Serena.
And I'm James.
And we are two twin flames in union. We make these weekly videos to help you through your twin flame ascension process and through your spiritual journey. So today we are doing kind of a fun video where we are going to blind. We literally just came up with this idea, or I came up with this idea minutes ago. Minutes ago was the inception of this idea. So James doesn't know about it. I really don't know what to expect. This has not been planned. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth and just kind of blind rate each other's biggest wound, and kind of on a scale of 1 to 10 how intense it was, and just kind of do a quick interesting interview of each other in a way. So just a quick background, if you haven't watched any of our videos before, James is generally identifies with the chaser side of the twin flame dynamic, and I generally identify with the runner perspective of the twin flame dynamic. So when we talk about our wounds, those are the perspectives that you can kind of be looking at. Now, keeping in mind, we did flip-flop back and forth throughout our separation, and still do, depending on the topic at hand or whatever's going on in our relationship. So keep in mind, these might not be labels that fit you personally, specifically. So take that with a grain of salt. But going into that, okay, so let's just dive right in. What do you think, upon meeting me and our separation, was my greatest block or my greatest wound that was keeping us in separation or keeping us from union, or whatever you want to call it?
I think one of your biggest blocks, which kind of kept us separation a bit after we met each other and kind of following suit to later, was probably the masculine block towards men, especially with your childhood, with with your dad and all the rest. I think that was probably one of the most noticeable blocks I think that I picked up on in the start. I mean, you're putting me on the spot here, so I really got to rack through the archives. But I think that was probably, from my side, maybe one of your biggest.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how extreme do you think it was?
40.
Extreme, extreme being like, like debilitatingly.
Maybe like a 6.5.
Okay. And what
moderate.
What do you think, what do you think the baseline work was that I needed to do in order to overcome this wound or overcome this block?
I think the biggest thing that you need to do to overcome it was, for one, kind of refine your power within yourself, and realizing that you weren't reliant on the man or the masculine, however you want to look at it, because obviously man and masculine don't always have to be one or the other. So I think really kind of finding your own power and your own ability to just be yourself and have trust and faith in you as a person. I think when you got a better grip of that really helped you kind of release any blocks or holds that might have had on you, because at that point obviously that became such a big part of your identity that when you let that go, it helped you kind of refine yourself and realize that you didn't actually need that in order to be who you were, because you were who you are, whether that was there or not.
Yeah. Weirdly, that's making me feel very emotional.
So I hit the spot then.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that's not what I would have said my biggest block was, but I can see the angle that you're coming from. And what I would have said my biggest block was like self-love or self-worth. But I think you're right, and you hit on something which that does come from my dad, you know, and that does come from like the love that I received from him like when I was younger. And you know, it's weird, I feel strange that it's making me emotional even still, and you'd mentioned it, like even still we come across this wound from time to time, and it affects like every aspect of my life, you know, which means it affects it, you know, every aspect of your life that's connected to me, at least. Yeah, our lives. And so like I, even as you were talking about it, which is so interesting, you guys, in the group coaching program that we're doing right now, we, in the last week or two, when we were coming into 2025, we were asking like, okay, what are you leaving behind in 2024? And one of the things that I said was that, and it was like my fear. And even when you were speaking on it, like I could feel the fear in my solar plexus, like tingling, and like I could feel even afraid that you were even speaking on it. And I think that fear comes from the fact that like you really see me very clearly, and sometimes I'm not expecting it. So it catches me by surprise, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm being exposed right now. And that's like how I was feeling, is like somebody shining a light on something that I didn't know you knew. And like, of course I know you knew this, but it's like that feeling of being exposed and being like, oh God, like somebody's seeing me. And so I think that's also kind of what made me emotional, because it's like a double-sided coin. It's like a fear of like, oh my God, someone's seeing me, and then it's like a love of like, oh my God, I'm being seen, you know. So if you also struggle with this in your own life, you know, being seen or being misunderstood, you'll understand this feeling. Or if you haven't experienced it yet, I hope that you do experience it in your twin flame journey, because it is really quite something to be seen on that level by another person. So yeah, thank you for that. I can still feel it, like kind of.
I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I can still feel it. Like I feel like, you know. So, and I think maybe you speaking on it is like stirring up the fact that like I can release that even further, you know, and release that even deeper. So
yeah, I mean, as what, like, it's one of those things that you can release all of it, but there's always going to be some sort of a hold, because it's a part of your identity to a degree. Not to say that's who you are because of that, but it definitely has factored into, you know, the person you've become and the way that you respond to things and the way you go about things. It definitely still has a tie to you. Not that that's a bad thing anyway whatsoever, but it's always going to have a hold. It's just now whether you allow it to disempower you or empower you.
Yeah.
That's where the main thing comes from it, when you actually work through those blocks to get to the other side and not allow it to drag you down.
Yeah. Do you think did you recognize that even from the beginning, or is that something that you now can see because you have, you know, like 2020 is hindsight?
You called me daddy.
You know what?
You called me daddy.
No,
I'm joking.
What are you talking? Oh, you're making a joke. I didn't get it. Okay, put it down in the comments if you got it right away, or if you had to think on it a minute like me. Us highly sensitive processors don't always understand jokes very well. I'm sorry, I didn't get the joke. But anyways, answer the question realistically.
Sorry, answer the question. Ask the question again. I lost it for a second there with that.
Was it something you spotted right away, or was it something that now you can speak on because of you knowing me and all that stuff?
I mean, I think a part of it I noticed from the start just by your demeanor, but it wasn't that it was, you know, so pronounced like you'd be like, that's what it is. There was always a shadow of it, but it wasn't something that I can actually pinpoint from the get-go. Obviously, over time, as we've got to know each other better, you've obviously spoke to me more about all these things, and obviously I can see you now a lot more and a lot deeper than obviously the first 2 days that we met, because obviously now I know you a lot better. But I think there was a part of it that you kind of almost hid it inside of you, because you knew it was there, but you didn't want people to see. So that's why I could kind of see it, but because you're hiding it, I can only see a fraction of it. So it made me think that I wasn't sure if I actually was seen or not. Yeah, it's. I think it's definitely something that the longer we've been together, I've been able to see it more clearly. I mean, obviously you've progressed through it, but I've been able to identify it a lot more, because obviously I know you a lot better now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And vice versa, what do you think my biggest block or wound was?
So I think your biggest block or wound is kind of a combination of two things, which would be one being like realizing you were worthy of having like the relationship that you desired, and two, not needing to prove yourself so much. Like, I think when I first met you, especially, and again, knowing like your place in your family, it makes a lot of sense because of the role that you fill within your family. And I can totally see it a lot of times, like as you as a little kid, you know, like running around wanting to make mom happy, wanting to make dad happy, and then, you know, you have certain abandonment wounds around your mother and things that happened in that aspect. And so then there's, for me, it's like this, there was almost this feeling of like, I need to prove that I'm worthy of this or else it's going to go away, right? So you almost like overdid it and overdid a lot of things, and still sometimes do. I mean,
It's
you
ingrained
are,
into me.
I know, you are like a highly energetic person and a very generous person. And you know, like, especially to the people you love, you're a very service, like kind of oriented person. But I think part of that is, you know, again, the way you said with mine, it can either be empowering or disempowering. You know, I think the same is true for yours. Like, either it can run you ragged, you know, because you're like spinning your wheels trying to prove your worth, or it can be one of those things like, if you just slowed down a little bit and asked, is this valuable to you, rather than thinking like, oh, if I do this, and this, then I will prove myself, then I will be worthy of receiving the love, right? Rather than being like, oh, what actually do you want me to do, right? Or what actually would be valuable to you? And then just doing that rather than doing that and the 15 other things that you're thinking, you know? And I think that was maybe the biggest thing.
I had an analogy in my head now of like, you know, like a border collie with a stick. Like, they're all crazy for the stick, but as soon as they get a stick, they don't know what to do with the stick.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that's true in terms of like, I think about when we first came back together, like we were both outside of ourselves in two very different ways, but you were outside of yourself, like, how do I not fuck this up? And it was like written all over your face, like you were so scared to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, be the wrong person, that it was like I felt so much pressure and so much weight on myself. And this wasn't like the whole time. This was like, you know, for brief moments and brief times throughout the day. But I felt so much pressure around that like, oh gosh, like he's so afraid he's going to screw up or push me away or something's going to happen, you know. And that's partially also your previous relationship wounds that happened in those relationships too. So I think there was a lot there for you. Would you say that that's accurate for what you think your biggest wounds are?
Slightly.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, I think, yeah, I'd probably put you in the same place, like 6.5, 7 maybe.
Ooh, a 7.
So yeah, I think it wasn't anything like, because obviously if it were debilitating, neither one of us would be able to accept the other one, you know. So it couldn't be a 10 on either one of us, or else it wouldn't have been healed enough to even make it work.
We didn't talk about it right now.
So I think, but it was still, for both of us, it was still pervasive in terms of like, we need to get this sorted out before we can either like come together. What I think would be interesting is for you to like almost speak to that past me and like tell me what you would want to tell me if you could. You know, if we could do the whole thing over again and you knew the same wounds and you knew that that's what I needed to hear, like what would you say?
You really like putting me on the spot, don't you?
You want me to go first?
No, it's all right, because then I'm going to get down another rabbit hole, probably forget the question again. I guess with regards to your kind of your masculine wound / father wound, I'd probably just say that, you know, even though obviously now knowing your past and all the rest, even knowing all of that doesn't define you as a person. And even without that person with you, you are still a strong, beautiful, independent, incredibly intelligent as well, much more than me, person who, when you actually put your mind to it, no matter who's in your way, you will succeed through it, and you don't have to worry about whether, you know, there's a masculine figure or feminine figure or whatever it might be. If you just stay true to yourself, all of those wounds will actually fall to the background, and you can accomplish just about anything that you put your mind to. And I mean, your channel itself is proof in the pudding there as well, because I mean, I remember there was a time where you were so worried about that, and now look at us. I mean, I'm talking on a video as well, and I never thought I'd do anything like this. But if I could say anything to you, it'd just be, don't allow that wound to deter you from being who you are and actually expressing yourself the way that you feel you need to express yourself. Because as soon as you do, and you allow that wound not to hinder you in any sort, the sky is really the limit, and you really can, you know, conquer the world.
You know, it's something that's very vulnerable right now is, just want to check that we have enough time to talk about it, is that, so I always felt like I needed a man in order to do things, and I know you already touched on that, but like, I'm gonna tell you guys like exactly how like intense this was. Is like, the first time I went to a meditation class, I made my partner go with me because I didn't want to go by myself, and I felt like I needed a man in order to do that. And then, you know, throughout my karmic relationship, I only traveled the world because I was with him, and I only did I only did those things that I did because I had a man by my side. And then even so far as I actually came to this realization like the other day, even so far as to, and it's so deep, it connects to like me feeling like I'm not enough on my own, like I'm not worthy enough to exist on my own without a man. And like, that's a core wound for me, and it was drilled into me time and time again, especially with my dad, with my first boyfriends, because he would be like, oh, well, is so-and-so going with you, and like, you need a protector, and like, there's various things that happened throughout my life that like drilled into me that like I wasn't capable enough to do things on my own. Like, I always needed somebody to be there to help me. And so I was even realizing the other day, like, I started this group coaching because I also didn't believe like I was enough on my own to do twin flame group coaching. Like, I needed to have a man by my side. And not to say like you haven't been an incredible benefit to that program, because you absolutely have, but
you could do it without me with ease. I'm just here to make you look good.
But like, for me, like, it was a subconscious thing. It was like, no, I can't. How could I do that on my own? Like, I need. And then because that was reflected back in the people that wanted to join the program, which people said, oh, we want to do it with, when I polled the community, people said we want to do it with Serena and James, not just Serena. And so it was reflected back to me in the results of the poll. And so I was like coming to this realization the other day of all this stuff. But without going too far down that rabbit hole, this is like, these are those core wounds that we're always working through. And do you want me to share mine for you, or is there anything else you want to say?
Just one thing I want to touch on that as well. I mean, when we talk about when you put the poll out to the community to see if they wanted to do a group with just you, with you and me, or just me, or whatever it might be, I think one of the big reasons why they wanted to do it maybe with both of us had nothing to do with your capability.
No,
let me finish. With your capability or anything like that. I think the reason why maybe a lot of people in the community, and you guys can tell us in the comments below as well, was simply just because we have very different ways of looking at things. Obviously, you come with it from a very, very deep spiritual side, where I come with a very practical side, and it's sometimes can be very hard to find both those things in one platform to give people a more rounded off kind of information, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And I think that is the reason why, because I'll tell you one thing, you could do this course without me and still make it just as incredible as what it is. I mean, I appreciate being a part of it, and I appreciate you boosting my confidence as well, because it really needs it. But there's nothing that would stop you from making anything you put your mind to a success.
Well, I think you're right. And I think what's interesting about that is we talked about, you know, letting the wounds disempower or empower you. And us doing this course together has brought us together in a relationship dynamic that we've never experienced before. So it's brought us to really new and different places together. So I'm not upset or anything that I chose to do it that way. It might not have come from the most aligned decision, but I still believe there was grace behind it, because it brought us to a place where we're like, you know, really working through these things together and with other people, which is absolutely incredible. And so, yeah, so I don't regret any of it. And even if it wasn't made from the most purest of intention, it still has brought me somewhere really beautiful. And I think that's something we need to pay attention a little bit more about our wounds, right? Is we can shame and blame ourselves a lot in the spiritual community about our wounds, and not realize they actually have the ability to bring us to some really beautiful and transformative places, especially within our relationships.
Use it, don't abuse it.
Yeah.
And now, vice versa question.
So, if I had to tell you something, so this is what's really interesting, is there's a part of me that actually gets scared to tell your early self this, because, like, not that I wouldn't want you to change how you acted, but like, I feel like it might have done something to your ego if I would have told you then. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if we told each other these things, it would have changed how everything plays out, right? Because that's just the nature of reality. But it's really interesting for me to reach back into that older version of you and say, like, okay, what would I say to you? And if I could, what I would say to you, and this is almost like us saying it to each other in the astral and like looping back, like we're healing each other, like in the past right now, which is kind of interesting. Time traveling. So what I would say to you is, your time of needing to spin your wheels to work for love is over. Like, your time of just being able to be open and receive it is coming. And the less you actually work for it, the more you're open to receiving, and the more other people want to give you, right? Like, I want to give you that love, and I want you to be open to receiving it, and taking some of your focus off of what you can do and how you can be, right? Like, how you can be in order to receive love, rather than what you can do in order to receive love. Because I've actually never met another person that's more worthy of love. And like, part of it breaks my heart, because it's like, you know, you can see the madness there. Like, why are you working so hard to be loved when you're so worthy of it just the way that you are?
Because I don't know another way.
So that's what I would say to you.
That's a lot to digest, but I appreciate that. And I think you're definitely right. A part of that maybe would have given me a little bit of an ego boost. But I think as well, a bigger part of that would have really made me have to kind of sit down and actually just really kind of replay those words through my head multiple times over to really actually understand it, to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm actually getting what you're trying to tell me.
Do you think you would have been able to receive it then? I don't think I would be able to receive yours at that point where I was.
I feel, because of the places where we were in our journeys, I feel that maybe I might not have been able to receive it to its full extent like I possibly can now. I don't even know if even now I can get that, 100% out of it. But I think going back to when we first met, just because of our journey and the way we went about things, I think I would have been able to receive it better than you would have received yours.
I think so too.
Just because I'd done 2 or 3 years worth of work before that period when we had met, from when I had my karmic. So I think that I would have been able to receive it better. Would it have been beneficial to me? I have no idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you watched it to the end, let us know. We truly appreciate every time you click on our videos and choose to watch us. It truly does help support our channel when you like and subscribe. And yeah, we've got big goals for this year. So keep supporting us, keep watching. We're going to keep bringing you content. We're going to keep showing up consistently. We're going to keep showing up for each other consistently. And the sky is the limit. So thank you guys so much. Put your comments down below. If you're looking for more support, you can join my 21-day self-love challenge. This is still on sale from $44 to $22, so it's still 50% off right now. So if you're looking for something to elevate, kickstart your self-love journey for 2025, manifest the love you desire, all that good stuff, you can join the self-love challenge. There's a lot of other people doing it right now that are loving it. And if you're looking for Twin Flame group coaching, we are going to be launching round 2, March, April 2025. I'm super excited for this. This is going to be the new and improved program. You can thank all of your beta testers who came in and really knocked it out of the park and made this program absolutely amazing. I can't wait to share the testimonials with you and personal experiences from everyone who took the course. So we're super excited to offer round 2. If you want to get on the wait list, you can find the links down below and apply. And yeah, we'll review your application and get back to you around February. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We'll see you next time. Bye.